Call to order the Town of Londonderry Zoning Board of Adjustment for August 21st, 2024. Before we begin our meeting this evening, I will go over the meeting procedures. The clerk will read the case into the record. The applicant will make their presentation. We ask that you come to the front here and state your name and address for the record and do your presentation. The board will address the applicant with any questions or comments. Those that are in favor of the request are given the opportunity to address the board. Those that are opposed or having questions regarding the request are also given the opportunity to address the board. The applicant is given the opportunity to rebut any opposition, and the opposition is also given the opportunity for any rebuttal. The board will address the applicant with any additional comments or questions, and if at that time there are none, the public hearing portion regarding the case will be closed, at which time the board will enter into deliberation and vote on the request or continue the case to a future date. Those who would wish to speak tonight must approach the board and use the microphone here off to the side. Please state your name and address for the record. Any conversation will be directed through the board so that it will ensure a single line of communication. We ask that you speak to us. If you have any questions, we will ask the applicant on your behalf. We ask that you either turn your cell phones off or vibrate during the meeting. And before we start, we'd like to have everybody introduce themselves. Nick, you're going to start it off?
I'm Nick Gordon, Building Inspector and Zoning Administrator.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Mike Malaguti, I'm the Town Manager.
Chris Moore, alternate member.
Irene Macarelli, full member.
Suzanne Brunel, voting member.
Jackie Bernard, voting member.
Brennan O'Brien, voting member.
Mitch Feig, voting member.
Bob Robichek, alternate member.
And first order for this evening will be to approve the minutes from the July 17th, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 17, 2024 meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do we have a report by Town Council Liaison this evening?
None that I'm aware of, Madam Chair.
Okay. Regional impact determinations.
None
for
this evening, Madam Chair.
None, okay. Do I have a motion to accept no regional impact?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination of no regional impact.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? This will now bring us into our public hearing of cases.
Case number 821-2024-1, a request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.2 to allow an encroachment of 7 feet into the 15-foot side setback for a shed. The parcel is located at 18 Woodside Drive in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 14, lot 3-19, Lee Dutton, owner and applicant.
Please, please come, and you have 2 chairs. Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. There you go. Okay, so
Do you have any of your application with you?
it happens to be right. I thought
Okay.
if I was going to bring anything different, I had to bring 8 copies, but it's all the same.
Okay.
Nothing's different than what I wrote, and what I wrote's still valid.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, why are you here this evening? We'll start that.
Okay.
And state your name and address.
My name is Lee Dutton. I live at 18 Woodside Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053. I'm here because I would like a variance to install a shed on my property where it is, I know the rule is 15 feet from your neighbor or a butter's property. And I'm looking for, well, I believe I said 7 feet. So, and 20 Woodside Drive is my neighbor. So I would like to install a shed and have a variance for that. It's gonna be, you can see my shed with the red Google Map little symbol on the top. And the red box is the farthest left-hand corner of my property. The reason why I'm here tonight to ask for the variance is because my property just really doesn't have a good spot to put a shed besides this area. I have a stream that cuts in between really nowhere to put it there. It is just a terrible area. Oh, wow, that's a really good shot. And where my driveway comes down, you can actually see my white camper right there. And then it slopes off right into a marshy swamp area. And then a front yard shed. I have my septic system in the front yard. And then I know the rules. I believe it's something like, I think it's 60 feet from the front or the road or whatever. So my front lawn is a big septic system in the leach field, so it wouldn't allow the shed there. Nick actually just approved my pool, which is right there. So that was a win. So I can't put a shed right behind my deck because my fence runs, and it would be directly in the middle of my property right there and sloping off into the woods. So right behind my pool, it's a little bit hard to see, very large swing set that I have, permanent structures, all concrete posts and everything. Directly behind that is a fence that is like a fence gate, and it's a perfectly nice flat little area. My property line behind where the shed would be about 25 feet, but it's just to the left where the green line is. My neighbor Gary, who's actually sitting right back there, it's going to be about 7 feet to his property line. So that's the reason why I'm here tonight.
Okay. Would you like to do the 5 points of law, which is you have to, those 5 questions that you answered?
Okay, sure. I did the best I could on this, so.
Oh,
this
it's
first
all
time,
good.
okay.
Yep.
So the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. So the variance will not cause an adverse effect to the public interest. I am not putting a shed that is going to be unruly large. It's only going to be 10 by 12 by, I believe, 8 feet tall, where it's not going to block anyone's view like such things as a lake or something like that. It is way in the back corner. It's going to not cause any issues to the public interest. I get to the second. The spirit of the ordinance is observed. The proposed shed will not cause any issue to the abutter's view of wildlife, environment, streams, or cause the use of their property in any way. A abutter can still use the property as they do today. So this will not cause anything to be changed in their yard, any use. It won't be an eyesore, to be basically stated. It will just be in the back. Substantial justice is done. There will not be any harm to the general public due to the proposed variance shed being installed. I will not gain value and somebody else will not lose value. All parties will be safe. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished. The proposed variance shed will not cause surrounding properties to lose values. It will not impact their views, use of property, or the future use. The little enforcement of provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. For purposes of this subparagraph, unnecessary hardship means that owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from the other properties in the area. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public's purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the provision to the property, and will not cause unnecessary hardship to the abutter's property or in any other neighbor on Woodside Drive. The proposed variance shed will not cause or create special characteristics and cause disruption to the neighbors. The proposed use is a reasonable one. With my growing family, sitting right here, my other one at football, we need some more storage, and a new shed will improve our family's needs and create a safe place to store items away from my young children: pitchforks, mowers, fuel, shovels, etc. If the criteria in subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist if and only if, owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance and variance, and therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. The property does not allow for proposed shed to be installed in another area, hence why this is a need for the variance. This includes streams, hills, trees that protect wildlife and the home on the property. The proposed installed plot is the only place for the proposed variance to be installed.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the board?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just a little unclear. Where is it going to be?
So right back, keep going, right about, keep going, right there. So right in front of that little thing, the little hand, is, like I said, the large playground that's completely cemented in, and it's already there.
That is in the backyard.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, but just far left-hand corner.
And you told us 8 by 10? I mean, sorry, 10 by 12?
10 by 12, yep, by 8 feet tall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Or any board members? Good. Okay, take it out to the public. Is anyone that would like to speak in favor of the applicant? Let the record show that no one is approaching. Anyone in opposition that would like to speak?
That's my neighbor
You-
Gary.
Come on up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Gary Nelson, owner of 20 Woodside Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire. Lee and I are good neighbors. You know, he asked me about this before he even came to you guys, so I really don't have any issue with Lee. If he wanted to do something, he'd come and ask me to. Lee sells his place, somebody else owns it. What limitations do the new owner have about making it 3 times as big, moving it different place, all that? What
So-
controls are there?
The variance stays with the land.
Okay?
So if it is approved this evening, whatever is in, if we approve it encroaching, the next owner can also encroach up to that variance amount.
And the size of the shed too?
Mike, size?
If he's granted the variance for a shed of a particular size tonight, it cannot be
It cannot be.
expanded in the future. Correct.
So,
So is that size in the variance now?
yes, yes, it
Okay.
is. It would be stated.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm good with that.
Thank you.
So it
Yep.
stays in the same spot, variance never moves from what Nick will then approve in the future. Someone else moves in, they're stuck with the variance, same spot, they come and they do all this again to get a different one.
Right. If you
New
wanted to
building
build a
permit,
bigger
new-
shed or one that's closer to his property, they would need to come back.
You gotta come
and
back.
Do this again.
Can I,
Correct.
can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
It strikes me, we don't say the location unless we say that. Right now, we're just saying he can encroach 7 feet into that side setback.
Well, we have to,
So a future
we have
neighbor
to put
could,
that.
but they could put it in the front yard 7 feet.
No, it
No,
would be
we have
location and show and,
Would
Specific.
be the location, we'd
the specific.
we'd specify that in the,
We
okay.
usually say as
Front yard is
proposed.
The
back,
variance-
that's what I
Presented.
asked.
Yeah.
the variance is tied to
Yeah.
the attachment evidence.
Well, we don't,
So,
okay, so,
so nobody can just pick it up and just move it, or it
No,
can't build it
we
3 times
specify.
bigger.
We
et cetera.
specify, if it is approved after.
Is it possible I get a copy of the variance?
You would be able to get a copy of the whole hearing after.
Okay.
You can go, I believe, tomorrow.
Yeah,
To the-
or you can send me an email, and I'll be happy to
Okay.
email it to you.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, Gary.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the applicant or opposed? Okay, let the record show that there is none. Any more questions of our applicant? Okay, at this time, we're going to close the hearing. Do we need to go over anything or hash anything out?
anything's,
I don't think so.
Okay, let's go into the 5 points.
Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because
I would not.
It would not, because it wouldn't affect the
Agreed.
pub. Yeah,
an alter
sorry.
the character of the
Right,
neighborhood.
sorry about that. You, everybody.
No altering of the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's way in the backyard. I don't think most of the neighbors will notice.
spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because I would say it would, doesn't pose any threat to health, safety, public welfare.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Okay.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because I think it would. The loss to the applicant's greater than any gain to the public.
I agree.
Agree.
I agree.
Do you agree, Suzanne?
Do.
Perfect.
I will speak up if I don't.
Thank you. For the record, no one can remain silent anymore.
For the following reasons, the surrounding values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
I'd say would not, there's no evidence and no reason to believe they would be diminished.
Agreed.
I agree.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision of the property because
So I don't think he answered it in his written, but he did orally tell us what
Agreed.
was, what the various issues were. He put it down.
Subcon
That's
B.
not the right place. Anyway,
It wasn't
He
the
did
right place,
orally
but he did
present.
orally present it, because of the streams
I agree.
and the, where the septic is, he's got no other spots.
Right.
Oh, sorry about that.
that's okay.
Gave my best
You don't
shot.
do this every day. You said it, as long as it was presented in one fashion or another.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because, I would say it is, sheds are reasonable.
I agree?
I agree.
Just waiting for Jackie to say it.
Comments, restrictions, time frame. So as presented,
Yes, and let's declare that it is a 10 by 12 shed.
10-foot by 12-foot shed that is 8 feet high.
Yep.
Can I ask one question? So the shed that I'm proposing, 10 by 12.
Actually, the hearing is closed, so you can't really ask yet, so
Oh.
you gotta wait for us to finish.
Sure,
You
sorry.
got it.
Sorry.
And location of shed,
As presented.
For exhibit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you.
in our package, I mean. for
Yeah,
exhibit.
that's a good.
Just an exhibit.
Okay.
do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 821-2024-1 to grant the request for a variance with the conditions that the shed is as presented on the exhibit attached to the application, and that the shed is 10 feet by 12 feet and is 8 feet high.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
In case number 821-2024-1, the request for a variance was granted with the conditions previously stated.
You're all set. Now you can ask your questions.
I'm actually going to retract it. I am good to go.
Okay.
I am fine.
It's not a bad thing to ask questions, just we have to finish our part.
No, that's fine. I'm good to go.
Okay.
So the
You're-
ru- the
you're
rules here
granted.
would be, I
Yep.
then
If you have any other questions, Nick will.
call Nick and
Yep.
go from there in the future.
You got it.
You got it. We're good to go?
Have a great
All right,
night.
You get a
Yes.
treat, buddy. You are the best.
He was the youngest petitioner we've ever had.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Ready for the next case?
You ready for the next one?
Case number 821-2024-2, a request for a variance from LZO section 5.14.b to allow an encroachment of 13 feet into the 40-foot front setback for a fence. Parcels located at 48 Wilson Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 18, lot 28-121. Stephen Mandelar, owner and applicant.
Please approach. Please state your name for the record.
Stephen Mandelaire, 48 Wilson Road.
Thank you. You may present.
So here requesting tonight a proposed variance for a privacy fence which extends 6 feet within the 40-foot setback of the front property line. The proposed fence is to hide utilities, play area, and extend off the existing structure within said setback. As illustrated there, the property line is set back from the road a considerable 180 degrees, please.
Bear with me.
There it is.
Property line and road are considerably spaced apart, and the 40-foot setback extends well into the back of the property, the existing structure.
So is your house?
Well into
Setback?
the setback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any priors on this one?
Or is it grandfathered?
Nothing's indicated.
No, that can be great.
What year is your home?
76, I believe.
Rezoning.
No, we didn't. zone it.
No, it's not pre-zoning.
You young people.
I know. For this?
70s wasn't that long ago.
Sorry.
Try the 60s.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, I was 10 years off. Sorry.
Okay,
Nothing, Brendan?
Nothing.
Okay. Anyway,
all right. You may continue. Would you like to go through the 5 points of law now, or would you like to talk about the fence or any of that sort?
It's just a plain old fence, so I'll go through the 5 points. The
Okay.
variance is not contrary to the public interest, as the variance to the permit of the fence location to hide play structure. It's not against any public interest, and it is just a privacy fence to enhance the aesthetics of the property. The spirit of the ordinance is observed. The variance for the location of the fence is considerable distance from the road. However, the distance from the road to the property line puts the setback in excessive distance compared to the existing structure. Substantial justice is done. It improves the neighborhood appearance and homeowner privacy. The value of the surrounding properties are not diminished, as this is just a privacy fence of not excessive height. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. For purposes of the subparagraph, unnecessary hardship means that owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the provision of the property. And the existing property structure to be attached to the fence already is within the setbacks, and the variance approves upon such structures. The proposed use is a reasonable one, a privacy fence acting to hide utilities, play areas, as well as aesthetics of the existing structure. If the criteria in subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and only if owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot reasonably be used in strict conformance with the ordinance. A variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. The property has an existing structure within the setback to be approved upon, creating the hardship.
Are there any questions of the applicant?
I have one. So the fence will be in line with the front of the house?
Correct.
It's not
It
in
is
front
not
of it?
in, it is not forward of the structure, it continues straight off of the
Okay.
front wall.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I didn't get that. Thank you, Susan.
It looked a little odd. but
Yeah, I
think
couldn't
it's
quite
just the
figure out. I was
photography.
gonna ask something similar.
I just had a quick question. Do you know, like, is there anything right behind your house that's in the way of other things being built? I'm not saying for your fence, but they put your house in a very interesting location on this
Prior
acre
to
of
the
cleared
aerial
land.
photos, if we were to do a Google Street View, we can step back in time, and almost directly behind the house or property was uninhabitable terrain,
Oh, okay.
forest, boulders. We'd have to go back to 13 or older. Yeah, so that is where it was cleared.
Okay.
But everything on the property, with the exclusion of the house itself, was dense forest.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to take it out to the public. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of the applicant? Let the record show there is no one. Anyone in opposition that would like to speak at this time? Let the record show there is no one. One last time back to the board? We're good?
Yeah, one quick question.
Yes.
Do we need to do anything about the house being non-conforming?
Nope,
Okay.
not our purview.
Plus, it's also been there for a long time. so
Yeah.
Not,
there's
it's
other-
not what we're here
other
for.
legal
Not
arguments
that
to be-
long. It was only
Yeah.
built in the 70s.
Exactly.
20 years.
Just yesterday. All right, public portion is closed. Do we need to deliberate anything before we go?
No.
Okay, let's do the 5 points.
Granted, the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because?
And would not.
I
It's not gonna alter the character of the neighborhood.
of the neighborhood.
I agree.
I agree.
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because, I would say it would. No threat to health, safety, or general welfare.
I agree.
I agree.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because, I would say it would, no loss to the public if the variance is denied.
I agree.
For the following reasons, the values surrounding properties would or would not be diminished. I would say would not. There was
agree.
I agree.
no evidence supporting they would be.
What did you put for the third item again?
The loss to the applicant would be greater if the variance is denied.
Okay, I didn't hear the first one. Okay, that's fine. I thought you said to the public.
Oh, I may have misspoken.
Okay.
Never.
I'm more likely to misspeak.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because, I would say there is not, just given the location of the,
I don't know if all of the houses are
yeah, I guess that's,
non-conforming, but perhaps.
I guess that's true. The one across the street looks further back, at least,
Yeah.
Anyway,
way further back. So I don't know. At least for this house, I would
I
say
agree with
there
you.
is no fair and substantial relationship.
There's one
I
down the
agree.
road that's the same further back.
agreed.
I agree.
Proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because,
Fences are reasonable.
It's reasonable.
okay. Comments, restrictions.
I have none.
I do have a question about that, actually. The next petitioner has a height of 6 feet. The
Whoa,
zoning
whoa,
has
whoa,
a...
whoa, wait a minute. The next case?
Yeah, but I'm getting to something, just hear me out.
No, but you can't talk about the
Okay,
next
so we
case.
won't talk about that, but, okay, so, but there's no mention in the petition regarding the height of the fence that I could find.
Well, if he was
No
going to
restrictions.
exceed the amount, he'd have to
So,
ask for
I
another
beg your pardon?
variance. If he was going to exceed the allowed amount, he'd ask for another variance on the height.
And that's being checked.
No, I understand about the building department, but normally a variance would state that. I'm just gonna say it for the record, but.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't applying to bring something else in, but that brought my attention to this petition. I didn't see it mentioned anywhere.
Do you know how high your fence, I'm gonna open it back up. Do you know how high your fence is gonna be?
Yes, 6 feet. So my understanding is that the variance is only required for a 6 foot within the setback and a
Okay.
4 foot.
All right, so noted, 6-foot fence.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments, conditions that we need to establish? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 821, 2024-2 to grant the request for a variance with the condition that the fence be 6 feet.
Any other,
To exceed 6 feet.
not to exceed 6 feet, okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
In case number 821, 2024-2, the request for a variance was granted with the condition that the fence is not to exceed 6 feet.
Off you go.
You know the last case? I forgot to put granted. I don't believe I did. but-
you
Oh,
did.
I did. Wow, okay. All right, we're ready for the third case.
Oh, we're moving along.
Case number 821, 2024-3, a request for a variance from LZO Section 5.14.b to allow a 6-foot fence within the 40-foot front setback. The parcel is located at 552 Mammoth Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 15, lot 231. Stephen and Renee Kelly, owners and applicants.
Please approach.
Madam Chair, I just need to step out for a moment, but there is a letter of support on this one. I just wanted to flag.
Okay, thank you.
I have, actually some things that I didn't make into the package.
Okay, yep.
Additional photos.
Go ahead and we'll pass it. There you go. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I guessed at 6.
Thank you.
3 shy.
That's okay, we can share.
Yeah. Here, you can have one.
You got it.
Other side
Go.
yard. Thank you.
And we're going to label that Exhibit A for you.
Okay.
Sure, I'm not even voting tonight, so.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know there was
Another
another. We don't need to-
And if you would state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stephen Kelly, 552 Mammoth Road.
And you can begin by telling us why you're here this
Okay.
evening.
Well, my wife Renee and I own the property at 552 Mammoth. We've owned it about 13 years. And we're coming before the board for a variance to install a 6-foot privacy fence along the right-of-way that borders Page Road and our property. The previous owner had installed, apparently illegally, some tall arborvitaes that you can see in the photo, approximately 30 years ago from the best we can tell. And they've afforded us privacy from Page Road since we've owned the house. Earlier this year, we were approached by Charlie Evans, who owns the property across Rockingham Road from the intersection east of where we live. And they're developing that lot. The water main ended basically adjacent to my shed in Page Road, and the edge of Page Road. And the arborvitaes were in the way of that construction, so they removed them. So now we have no privacy against a very busy road. So that's the basis for, asking for a fence. And if you look at the photo in the last part of the package, you can see a depiction of a fence of where we'd like to install it, which is basically would start at the northeast corner of the shed, of our shed, and run down along the right-of-way, which is on that corner, on that side of our lot, the right-of-way is 35 feet from the edge of the pavement. So it's a large right-of-way that was developed in 1956 by the state of New Hampshire when they moved Page Road
Is this the picture you're talking about?
to its, yes.
Okay. So it's in our regular.
Yeah, it's in the package. It's the last page
Okay,
in the
we have.
package, sorry.
So, and it's that, I'm sorry, white.
That white fence was my artistic abilities.
That's good, that's good. Better than mine.
Because this is what it looks like today.
That is, yes, that
Okay.
number one photo is looking
Got nothing.
looking east from the intersection of Page,
Okay.
or Mammoth Road, so, yeah, there's nothing there now. In terms of, what this would do to the spirit of the ordinance that this is backing up, for one, well, to start with, if we were to install the fence at the 40-foot, setback, that would put it 75 feet from the edge of Page Road, which would put it approximately the middle of my kitchen window, and would bisect our patio. So we can't really adhere to that very easily. So that's the reason for the variance. This does nothing to the.
Would you
to
like
the-
to start with the 5 points as
Sure,
well?
that probably will cover everything.
Because you're actually doing it, yeah.
Yes, I am.
I won't make you repeat it.
I've read through this a few times over the last couple of
That's
months.
good.
So, so variance is requested from section 514B of the zoning ordinance for the following reasons. We've talked about the arborvitaes that were growing in the right-of-way. They are now gone. They've been removed, and the water main extension, the right-of-way is 35 feet from the edge of the pavement, and a 40-foot setback would not be possible to achieve. So, number one, variance will not be contrary to public interest. Public interest in this variance is to prevent obstructions to safe view of road traffic. This variance will cause no harm to the underlying spirit of that ordinance. And in fact, it improves it because the arborvitaes are now gone, which did provide a bit of an obstruction. And the fence, as you can see from the first photo in the additional package that I included, is, you can see the side of my shed, and it would be in line with that. So it's a clear shot right down to the other set of lights at Rockingham Road. The spirit of the ordinance is, the spirit of this ordinance is to prevent obstructions to roadway traffic. In this case, the installation of a 6-foot fence on the property line puts the fence in an area that obstructs nothing. With the removal of the arborvitae, the view is now completely unobstructed, so the situation is actually improved. Substantial justice is done. Without a fence, the property owners and occupants are exposed to vehicles and associated traffic noise, as well as foot traffic, created on Page Road, which has become a major artery to Manchester Airport. We have heavy truck traffic up and down that road all hours of the day and night. And we also, I didn't write this in here, but we also have our home is a multi-generational home. My son and his wife and 2 granddaughters live upstairs, so, you know, we need something to contain them in the yard as well. Number 4, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. This fence will have no negative effect on the surrounding properties. It will be professionally installed and constructed of quality materials. It'll be a 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence. So. Number 5, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. If installed per the provisions of the ordinance, the fence would cut the usable area of the lot in half, as the fence would be 75 feet from the edge of Page Road. And as I stated, in the middle of my yard. And without the fence, we have no privacy. So, proposed use is a reasonable one, which I just said. The fence will provide privacy to the owners, allows them to make full use of their property, and has no effect on traffic visibility and safety on Page/Mammoth roads. And B, if criteria in subparagraph A are not established, unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist, and if only owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of. All properties in this section of town, which is one of the oldest areas of town, have no ability to abide by this ordinance since most are 0.5 acre lots with houses constructed 20 to 25 feet from the road. And that's true with the frontage of 552. And every other house on this road is the same way. This house was built in 1795.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually rather historic. It was a former inn and tavern.
Wow, I did not know that. That is interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Wow. Okay, wow, we got an interesting case tonight. Any questions from the board?
I did have a question. So it wraps around kind of the backyard a little bit too.
Right.
Is it going to also encroach in the, I don't even know, rear setback, the one behind your house?
To my understanding, there is no rear setback from property line for fences, on like the sides and rear.
Yeah, he's double-sided, so
I have 2 frontages. I have
he has 2, yeah.
frontage
double
on Page Road and on Mammoth, but that back area is between the
Corner side yard.
side.
Okay.
And Nick, are there is there anything we have to know about the back side of that? What's going on back there with that easement and all that?
No.
Okay.
Not concerning the fence, but DPW has requested that if this variance is approved, it be contingent on the owner submitting to DPW a certified plan showing that it will not encroach in the required site distance.
Okay.
Required site distance. As far as what?
So that's when you're turning like Mammoth onto Page.
Okay,
If you're turning right, it can't block vision.
okay.
It doesn't look like it will if it's basically behind the shed.
So they're saying I have to pay for some engineer to say, yeah, this is okay?
Because it's a corner lot and because you're not stating exactly how far into the setback you're encroaching, yeah.
Well, that was the question. How many feet?
Well, no, I'm not, we're not setting back at all from the property line. The right-of-way is 35 feet from the edge of pavement.
So,
And that's basically where we want to put the fence.
so you'll be encroaching the 40 feet into the setback,
If you want to look at it, yeah, I suppose if you look at it
Yeah.
that way.
yeah. So, yeah, that's why he'll require it,
Okay, because I was going to ask about the line of sight.
right.
Okay.
And I was
So do you understand that?
I
have
understand, I
to do.
disagree with it. All you have to do is look at the photo, you can tell it's not going to
Tell the
encroach on
person that
anything.
took your arborvitae's down.
What's that?
Copy on that.
What's that? I'm sorry, what?
It wouldn't be as far out towards the road as the arborvitae
Yeah,
stuck
no,
out,
not at all.
correct?
And the arborvitae's came, you can see, within about 20 feet of the intersection. You know, I know the town didn't like them. I didn't plant them. And as it turns out, we didn't own them either, because they were not on our
Not a real
land.
recommendation, but you
So-
could certainly talk to them and present what you're presenting, and I don't know that you necessarily.
Unfortunately, we have regulations, and we have a set of regulations that we have to follow. And that's what dictates what we can and cannot do up here. So the arborvitaes are gone. You want to put the fence, if we approve this, it's just that there's going to have to be, the DPW will require that there is a site distance, unfortunately.
Just creates another hardship on me, you know? I went very easily with the town with removing the arborvitae's to begin with. And now I'm faced with another delay and more money out of my pocket for a useless site plan, when anyone with any common sense can see that it's not gonna create a problem.
Outside our purview, unfortunately.
Outside of yours, Mike?
I'm sorry, I missed the
It's- yeah,
discussion, but it
there's
sounds
a-
like there's a potential site distance issue
Yeah.
that,
DPW is asking for,
and to be clear, I don't believe that there's a site plan requirement. I believe
No,
that
it's a site distance.
it's
Site
a,
distance.
there needs to be, an analysis done to make sure that, it's not gonna create an additional traffic safety hazard. That's what a site, and those are planning regulation requirements that only the planning board has authority to waive. So I didn't hear the conversation, but, that's not something that the ZBA can do anything about, and it's something that only the planning board would have jurisdiction over.
and sir, the way that you presented to us is very logical, and your pictures are very good, and the pictures, even on Google, show how big the arborvitae's were.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're going to determine, but your presentation, the way that you're presenting, the fence is less obtrusive than those
Yeah.
big arborvitae's.
Of
And it's-
course.
And it's a necessary next step, just because we can't.
Right.
So how come all of us see that, but the DPW does not?
Well, no, it's just a formality that has to be on paper.
Right, but it's a formality that cost me time and money now.
Well, Mike,
And we're running into the fall and winter, and I need to get this fence up.
Mike gave you an option. You can go to the planning board and
To
see
the
if they'll waive
planning
that
board,
requirement.
yeah.
And when
Right,
is
and
that?
I didn't, again, and I apologize, I had to step out, but I didn't, I'm assuming that there wasn't testimony that was presented that there is definitely a site distance issue. It sounds like it just
No.
is something that was identified as a potential
Oh,
concern that needs to be
Somebody asked Nick a
addressed.
question and Nick
And
threw it
this,
out here.
and this,
Right.
this was then discovered.
And I think it's important to emphasize as well that, you know, I take that back. I mean, I think that primarily the jurisdiction of the town is delineated by the right of way. I mean, certainly if the site is being developed and there's a site plan, then yeah, then the town can specify requirements for what's happening on the site, but that's not the situation here. So I think that there just needs to be a consultation with the people who, I'm the town manager, I'm not an engineer, I can't,
Correct.
that's something I can't do.
Sorry, the site being that 35-foot right-of-way? Is that the site, what
Well,
they
that-
refer to as site?
So let me, how about if I put it this way? If we grant the variance, if we so choose to tonight after discovery, we can put in our comments that it is based upon the planning board reviewing for the DPW, the site distance. And then you're not gonna have to come back here, and you can go to planning, show them that what we've determined, if we approve it, on our side, and then they will look at what you presented rather nicely here.
Thank you.
You did a great job, and it's just a formality.
I've been in front of this microphone more times than I care to think about, as Mike knows, for
certainly.
other things.
And if I may, I mean, I don't know that it requires a trip to the planning board. I mean, I would phrase the condition, and let me take a step back. I mean, whether the condition is there or not, I believe that if a structure is placed in the right-of-way that interferes with site distance, DPW is gonna have something to say about that.
Correct.
So I think the condition is wise, because it's putting the applicant on notice that this is something that may need to be navigated, but it probably doesn't even need to be there. And traffic safety is enough of an issue in this area already. I mean, everybody's very sensitive to it, so,
Yeah, and we've improved that situation
certainly.
at this point
Yep.
greatly.
Yep, good.
And the fence going back is not gonna change that, or going in is not gonna change that.
So your
So-
presentation to the zoning board has proved that.
Uh-huh,
Okay?
okay.
Can I answer
So-
my question now?
Yes, Suzanne, please.
How many feet into, are you saying you're 40 feet into the setback? I guess.
No, so if you look at Page Road,
That's what just- that's what
the-
came out
the-
of his mouth.
there's the right-of-way for this property along
Yep.
the border of Page Road is 35 feet from the edge of the pavement, okay? That puts it basically to the corner, the northeast corner of my shed, okay? So if
it's 35
we're not, we're 40 feet into the setback, I guess, if you will, because we're saying, we can't do any of that, nor is it necessary to fulfill the spirit of this ordinance.
Is that correct, Nick? It's 40 feet into the 40-foot setback? So we're
You
zero
have to be
line?
40 feet back from the front property line on the,
Yeah, it's a,
Front?
I don't care about the
From
front.
Page Road.
it's a corner line, so it's a
Well,
corner.
Mammoth.
What's the front?
Yeah,
He
we're
has
saying,
two
we're not adhering to the setback. Basically, we can't do the setback at all.
Correct.
So it's 35 feet off of the edge of the road.
Yeah,
it's to your property line.
That is my property line, that right of way, yes.
Right. And then he's got another 40 feet from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we can't say, yes, you can put your fence in and line it up with your shed, because 10 years from now, the shed may not be there. So we need to be clear where we're saying this fence can be located.
Correct.
Well-
I'm still not clear on
The right of way will
what
still
we're
be
saying.
there, I'm pretty
I think-
sure. I don't think the town's gonna give that back to me.
can
Was it 35 feet from the edge of the road?
Yes,
I say something?
That's to
One
his
moment.
property line.
One moment.
Is, we're going to set where the fence is going to be, what am I saying?
He wants to put it on his property
35 feet
line
from the edge of the road, yes.
or on your property line.
That's, my property line is 35 feet from the edge of the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it from the edge of the road because roads have a tendency to move.
Well, that's what started this in 1956.
Okay, so he's putting the
moved Page
fence
Road
on the
south.
property line. So the shed is also on the property line, but that's a whole nother story. I'm sure it's been there for 20 years.
Any other questions, Suzanne?
Well, I was just gonna make a comment.
Understand my concern.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, do you have any even old plat of survey of your property, anything?
I have.
Other than a tax map which you can get from the town?
I actually have the blueprints from the state of New Hampshire from 1956, when they did the work on Rockingham Road, and at that time, they moved Page Road south about 100 yards or so from, it used to be north of that intersection. Now, they moved it south, and that's when they established that, which basically is my property line, that right of way.
Yeah, well, Nick is right, roads move, but just a suggestion, if you have to go to this approval process, your fence company was doing the work, should be able to help you, number one. Number two, you can get a GIS from the town, probably free, I'm thinking, and you can use that along with your other property survey you may have from whenever you have it to dimensionally locate your fence, so you have a location. And last but not least, I'm looking at an image, I can't bounce it here, but from the corner of Mammoth and Page, with arborvitae's there, and there's a power pole right there.
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking at a three-dimensional street view. I see your shed. I think in talking to anybody, you should be showing that image, what it used to be with those 30-foot tall arborvitae's, and then show what a 6-foot fence would look like.
Yeah,
So that's my input for whatever it's worth. Thank you.
okay. I thought I covered that with most of the photos, but
You
I guess I know what
absolutely,
you're saying.
you absolutely did,
Yeah.
sir. You did.
Yeah, I mean,
Any other-
that view there is, that is what you used to see.
If you go a little bit back, you see it even more. That's the view I'm looking at.
Right.
It's not really impacting, well, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I've done a lot of this kind of work. It doesn't impact the view, but if you gotta do it, you gotta do it. That's a good shot to use.
Yeah, well, that's
Right there.
the shot that you have of without the arborvitae's is the one I took it this afternoon from the stop line facing
Right.
east.
Yeah,
And
the
you can
very
see,
first one.
you know,
Also good.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I'm going to take it out to the public. Anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the applicant?
I'm not here for this, but I want to comment on it.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Daniel Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. I own property on 507 Mammoth, and I'm very familiar with this intersection. I'm going to ask Mike this. Is it possible to waive that clearance if he moves his fence 5 feet towards his property? Can you move the 5?
You must speak to
Oh.
the board, sir.
Okay, so I'm listening to everybody talk, and I'm wondering if you can move the foot 5 feet in, then you're 40 feet away from the edge of the road. Shouldn't be a
Oh.
problem. Is what I'm asking.
5 feet
Oh.
in, puts it into the
Sir,
door of my
sir,
shed.
we need
Okay.
to have one voice here.
All right,
The applicant has applied for certain variants.
I understand that.
These are the requirements that the applicant is choosing to ask for.
Right.
So I will ask the applicant, would you like to move your fence?
It's just a suggestion.
I really can't unless I move my shed as well, because it'll
Okay.
put it into the door of my shed, so.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
There is a letter in support.
All right, would you please read that into the record?
From Page Rock LLC, August 19th, 2024, regarding 552 Mammoth Road variance. Dear members of the board, Page Rock LLC is the owner of properties at 3 Page Road, map 15, lot 235, 295 Rockingham Road, map 17, lot 25, 556 Mammoth Road, map 15, lot 236. Our properties are located directly across and proximal to the property located at 552 Mammoth Road, map 15, lot 231. We understand that Stephen and Renee Kelly have filed an application to allow a 6-foot fence within the 40-foot front setback. The town of Londonderry has provided us with a copy of their application. Please be advised that Page Rock LLC have no objections to Stephen and Renee Kelly's application to install a 6-foot fence within the 40-foot front setback as described, and are very supportive of their request. Respectfully, Deanne Navaroli, manager.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the applicant? Let the record show that there are no more. Anyone who is in opposition that would like to speak? Okay, let the record show there is no one. Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I just want to basically wrap my head around this one more time, make sure I fully understand it. So, the shed itself is approximately 35 feet from the road, the back side of the shed.
Right.
You are looking to start the fence at that corner, that if you're looking at your front door of the shed, the back right corner of the shed.
Correct.
Stretch it straight parallel to the road,
Mm-hmm.
and that is basically at your property line
Right,
towards or along Page Road,
right.
and then wrap it towards
Yes.
back towards the other side.
Yep.
And that is at 40 feet into your 40-foot setback.
Yeah, there is no setback, basically.
Correct. You're asking to go all the way through the 40-foot setback, which your house is very much in already.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I am gonna now close this public portion of the meeting. Do we have to hash anything out?
We got
We're
it.
good? Nope. Okay, let's go.
Granted, the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because, I would say it would not,
Agreed.
does not change the character of the neighborhood.
Agree?
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because, I would say it would. I don't think the granting the variance threatens health, safety, or public welfare.
I agree.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because, I would say it would. I think the loss to the applicant is greater than any gain to the public if the variance were denied.
I agree.
I agree.
For the following reasons, the values of surrounding properties would or would not be diminished. I would say would not.
I agree.
No evidence supporting that they would be.
Agree?
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguished it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property, because I would say there is not. This is a road, this is a property that's built pre-zoning, it's on multiple lot, it's got 2 roads on its sides, next to a right-of-way.
There's a lot. I agree.
I agree.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one.
Fences are reasonable.
Fence is reasonable.
Do we all agree?
I agree.
Okay,
Comments, restrictions.
all right. Site distance,
So I have on the condition that the DPW approve a site distance analysis.
If I may,
Yes.
Madam
Other-
Chair, I would suggest something along the lines of satisfactory demonstration that the fence does not conflict with any applicable site distance requirements. So we're not saying that that there is a conflict, we're just saying that we need to make sure that there isn't.
okay. And that was a really nice sentence.
It was.
Satisfactory demonstration, the fence does not conflict with any applicable site distance requirements.
Seems fair.
Enough lawyers in the room to phrase it correctly, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a need to say that it goes into the 40 feet, because it goes into the 40 feet,
Goes
so
all
it's,
the way.
you can go as far as you can go.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 821-2024-3 to grant the request for the variance on the condition of the satisfactory demonstration that the fence does not conflict with any site distance requirements.
Just
Do I have a
applicable.
second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
In case number 821-2024-3, the request for a variance was granted with the condition previously stated.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. Reach out to engineering.
That time I didn't.
Yeah. John.
Ready for the last
You
one?
get
Let's do the last one.
Case number 821-2024-4, a request for a variance from LZO section 4.2.1.3.c.2 to allow an encroachment of 7 feet into the 15-foot side setback to allow an addition to an existing garage. The parcel is located at 18 Stokes Road in the AR1 zoning district, tax map 15, lot 138. Robert E. Demers and Jacqueline Demers, owners and applicants.
Please come to present. You are our last case this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Robert Demers from 18 Stokes Road.
Okay.
I got a couple of letters of recommendation from my neighbors that weren't able to mail it.
Okay, would you like to start while you're here this evening?
Yeah, I got a one-stall garage, and I got, it's very cramped. We can only fit one car in there, and in the wintertime, we gotta pull that car all the way up just to get the snow blower behind it. And there's, my daughter moved out, but there's 3 of us that live there now. We have 3 vehicles, and I snowplow, so I'm usually gone, but it would be nice to put 2 vehicles in a garage. I'm kind of landlocked because on the west side of the property is the leach field, so I can't do anything over there. And the house is built to the far east of the property, and 8 feet from the setback, 8 feet from the property line. So the only place I have to go is back. It'd be too costly to tear the garage down, breezeway down, and start from scratch.
Okay. Do you have your paperwork so you can go over the 5 points of law?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, you can start.
Number one, the addition will not, hold on a sec, sorry. This will be a lot better. The addition will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten the health and safety of the general welfare or public. The 364 square foot addition will not be noticed by the public unless you're specifically looking for it due to the elevation of the land to the east and the house on the existing house on the west side. The spirit of the ordinance is observed. The addition will not alter the air and light from my neighbors, nor will the space be used commercially. It will not increase traffic on the street. We have a very small driveway, and the addition will allow us to get our vehicles undercover in the winter and off the street. Stokes Road is very narrow. Substantial justice is done by granting us the variance. It will allow us to keep our vehicles safe. Stokes Road is very narrow, and the neighborhood residents drive it with caution. The general public does not, and when we park on the side, we're always worried our vehicles might get hit. The road is really narrow, and people that don't know the road kind of fly up and down the road. The values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. The house was built in 1960 and the garage shortly after. The extension to the existing garage will not diminish any of the neighbor's property values. Little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The side of the existing garage was built 8 feet from the property line. The existing garage built 8 feet from the property line. The new addition would be the same width as the old garage and 26 foot longer. The back of the garage would be within the setback compliance, but the east side would not. I'm landlocked and cannot build on the west side of the house because that is where my leach field is. The purpose is a reasonable one. The purpose is to allow us to keep our vehicles inside during the winter and a vehicle and mower during the summer. We cannot put a riding mower in our back shed because of the eroded impact to the mower. In the winter, the mower is stored off-site. And B, there is ample room between me and my neighbor's house if they were allowed to do an addition to their property in the future.
Stokes is a really beautiful road. Any questions from the board? None? Good love of God. Okay, in your,
You did a good job.
did a great job. I mean, it's not one question.
I'm painting my house raspberry, by the way. The teal's going.
Your presentation, you stated the addition was 360 square feet, but I think you just misspoke because your written says it's 280.
Oh, I did?
280.
360, yeah, 14 by 26. Maybe I gave you the wrong copy. I think it's supposed to be 364.
Okay, so for the correction and for the record, because we have to go by what you wrote and what's presented to us,
I got 2 copies of.
We can only use the one that we have in front of us,
Okay.
is 14 by 26.
14 by 26,
Okay.
yeah.
Let the record show that.
Okay.
What's the year of your house again?
1960.
Okay.
There were 2 brothers living side by each, the Grennan brothers. And that's why they allowed that, and the parents lived out back. That house has been currently torn down. And then after that, my doctor's mom owned it, my sister owned it, and I've been there for 37 years. I bought it from my sister.
Wow.
My father's farm, my grandfather's farm was across the street, and Mr. and Mrs. Bachman bought it from them. And that is where the nut field is today.
Okay. It's just it's a beautiful country road, let's put it that way.
Used to be dirt forever, and then we finally got pavement.
You moved up.
Yeah.
So you said that the west side of your property, right next to the house, that's all leach field, and you can't build on top of that?
No, yeah, it's a leach field.
Yeah.
It's a
You are really crammed in that corner, aren't you?
Yeah, they stuffed the house right up there. I think the the garage was an afterthought, and I don't know why they built it forward like that.
Yeah.
Probably a carport originally or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the backyard's totally different now. None of that stuff exists
And
anymore.
is there a breezeway between?
Yeah, it's a little breezeway, and then the back of the garage goes 2 feet beyond the breezeway, but the front of the garage sticks out at least 10 or 12 feet, and it's a badger to shovel in the wintertime.
It's a weird choice when they built that.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
So basically what I'm gonna do is, I would like to take the back wall down and push it out.
Right. Just
The
extend
garage
it.
is 24 now, and I like to push it out 26 feet. The neighbor's up on a hill. Aaron said that he did not mind the addition at all, and he was gonna write a letter, but I don't know if he got it here in time.
We'll get to that next portion.
okay.
We have some letters. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, I'm gonna take it out to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the applicant? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Daniel Boucher at 8 O'Connell Drive. Actually, I was the trustee of the property right across from him on Stokes Road. Go all the way around Stokes Road. Mr. Demers is, I couldn't ask for a better neighbor at the time when we owned that property. And I know that the property is very tight. You have a one-lane bridge that is pretty much on the way out, so it makes it very difficult for him to park vehicles there. I know when I've gone to visit him or something like that, it's very tight if anybody else goes by. And he is because of all the wetlands. I mean, I own 507 across the street on Mammoth, across from 28. I think he's in a very tight spot. I think it'd be great if you could grant this variance for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf? Let the record show that there is not.
2 letters in support.
And let me take it out for anyone in opposition first, and let the record show there is no one. Would you please read the letters?
So the first letter is marked as Exhibit A. It is from Christopher and Jennifer Holla, 14 Stokes Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. Attention, Town of Londonderry Zoning Board. To whom it may concern. In regards to case number 82124-4, Robert and Jacqueline Demers, we, as an abutter to the property listed, do not object in any way based on the context of the requested addition to the garage. As we know, the garage will be added onto the rear and will not affect our visibility or functionality of our property. Thank you. And then marked as Exhibit B is Brian Stoll, 395 Mammoth Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire, regarding case number 821-2024-4. My name is Brian Stoll, and I own the property across the street from Robert E. Demers. I am in favor of his request for an addition to his garage.
Thank you. One last time, back to the board. Any questions? Okay, at this time, we're going to close the public portion. Do we need to hash anything out, board members?
Nope.
We're good? Let's go into 5 points of law.
Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because, I would say would not, does not change the essential character of the neighborhood.
Agree?
I agree.
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because, I would say it would, doesn't threaten health, safety, or general welfare.
Agree?
Agreed.
Do we all
I agree.
agree? Okay. We're sleeping.
Big
I was
Mitches.
thinking about it.
Gotta get through this.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because, I would say it would, the loss to the applicant would be greater than any gain to the public if the variance were denied.
I agree.
I agree.
For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished. I would say would not. No evidence supports that it would.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because I would say there is not. This is,
Yes, I agree.
this is, the home is built so close to that property line. And I think it's pre-zoning. Did you say it was
This
built in
one was
60s?
pre-zoning.
They've got the narrow road, so it's
Yeah.
a safety issue to keep those cars off the road.
There's just no room. There's barely room just for one.
It was only built in 1960, though.
That might be a little older than the 70s.
Good answer.
Proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because
Garages are reasonable.
Bigger garages are reasonable.
comments, restrictions, I have that the addition will not exceed 14 feet by 26 feet.
Yes. Any other conditions? Are we good? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 821-2024-4 to grant the request for variance with the condition that the addition will not exceed 14 feet by 26 feet.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mitch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's the band you hear.
And they're done that.
In case number 821-2024-4, the request for variance was granted with the condition previously stated.
You're all set, Mr. Demers.
Thank you.
Have a good time. Next part of our session here, communications or anything miscellaneous that we need to attend to?
Nothing from me, Madam Chair.
And no other business? Nick, are we good?
Good.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed. Ayes have it.
Next month.